So from group 1, how we practice breathing meditation. So a few people shared their answers, and I actually wrote everything down because I proliferate a lot and I won't remember anything. So pay attention to the way it feels instead of trying to like force it but then for another person, maybe focusing on long, slow breathing, even pause, kind of like yoga type, like pause for a while, and then really like for monkey mind, it works for her to like really follow long and slow. And for another group member, keep the practice as simple as possible, maintain mindfulness, but things become stiff, and then we'll get to the supportive, helpful resources later. The challenges, the monkey mind, or the other kind of mind that would like to do well in the practice and like go, and get like so serious about the practice, or like maybe focus so hard, something like that. Another person not really interested in the breathing. So like how do we practice that when we are not interested? And one really interesting thing, when the mind is already peaceful, one is curious what to do next. Like, is there a quote work that we have to do after one is peaceful, the mind is peaceful? The supportive condition and the resources, I feel like these two questions are quite similar, and they, for us, like the answers are pretty much overlapping. So the elders' guide has been really helpful. The teaching online, podcasts, books from Ajahn Basano, Ajahn Sujito, all the resources that we have. Some people find it really helpful as they do walking meditation and go like left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Or some people chant mantra, Buddho, even when they are swimming. So like it's really like applicable everywhere. Some people wake up in the morning, walking meditation, qigong, maybe like getting into the body. There's a term, mini-meds. Mini-meds, I think George introduced that term. He can explain that. Mini-meds, like meditation, or maybe I'll finish this first. Maybe.
Briefly, I didn't invent it, but and I can't really remember where I heard it from. But it was that in the world throughout the day, when we are mindful enough to see that we're agitated, or we're starting to get stirred up, or we're starting to get angry, afraid, whatever it might be, is to just pause and take a few deep breaths and reset, and hopefully alleviate whatever it is we're struggling with. And that many nights like throughout the day, that's what it means to me.
Thank you, George. And also, I really like how Elizabeth shared, like, trust the inner wisdom. And another person shared, like, just observing whatever is going on, just observe. And I share one part at the end. I feel like sometimes, especially when the practice is really down, I still practice. And one thing that has helped me a lot is I told myself that even though this is not great, but this is my offering to the Buddha and to my teachers. So I feel like that has really helped me a lot, and I can keep going. And I don't remember the sutta, but I think there was a story of a poor lady who had really bad quality food to offer to the Buddha, and she felt like this food is so bad, maybe the Buddha wouldn't eat it, but she offered anyway, and the Buddha like sat there in front of her and ate right there. And I always think of that, and I thought the food might be just the water from pickled vegetables or something like that. And I feel like my practice is like there at that level, like really bad, but this is my offering. So I feel like that has been helpful. For questions, some of us, I think C has a question about the sound of silence, and I don't know if C would like to speak after this, or she's shaking her head. And Ginny also wonders when she will have some wisdom. So where's Ginny? So I don't know if C or Ginny would like to take the mic.
Well, maybe we can move on to for now, just move on to the next presentation. Group two. Could somebody from group 2, any notable points that weren't already mentioned? Phoebe.
Okay, I don't have as detailed notes as Ginger did, but I think I can share a few points. How to practice Anapanasati. We have quite a few varieties here. Of course, the grounding in the body, total awareness. One person says starting out where it's easiest to focus. And one person says he has a lot of tension, so he likes to just breathe to dissolve the tension. We also have one person that does the Goenka style with a lot of scanning. And one person does chakra meditation using color, the breathing. I forgot. What else? But it's quite involved. And she found it very helpful to dissolve emotional pain. She had some personal difficulty in this last few years, and she found that meditation very helpful for her. So challenges. The challenges is one person shared that not really experiencing any joy, piti or sukha, even though she experienced calm. And also about the exhalation being too short. And so this person feels kind of suffocated at first. But she said today is okay, feels like a wave. As for support, what's most supportive is having a regular, consistent practice, have a set schedule at the same time. And a few of us feel that living in community enforced by peer pressure is very helpful. Like being here, you'll have the morning and evening puja and everybody's doing the same thing. And well, sometimes you don't want to look bad. you want to do like what everybody does. So that's helpful. And it's not just the morning, evening puja, but just the lifestyle, in, everything. Included. For the day visitor, they found that seeing a monastic, feeling inspired to practice, even though it's just not living here, but just seeing monastics and get the inspiration. Some people get together with group of friends on Zoom and they meet every morning. And so they found it supportive as well. And also just being here and seeing the generosity of all the people, and they feel inspired to go home and try to hold the 5 precepts while they are living in the world, and that is very supportive for their practice. And one, this kind of fits in here, I'll put it here, is to... One person finds standing meditation very helpful and use that first and transition to sitting. Standing meditation helps settle the mind easier and help with the mindfulness. And then she will continue with the sitting meditation, it's easier. And resources, of course, the Anapanasati Sutta. We all read that, and it's very helpful. And Ajahn Suchito's book on breathing like the Buddha and the the standing meditation. And also one person found Ajahn Jeff's essays very helpful, which relates to aspects of life and the Buddha's teachings. And all the teachers here. And there's another term in Thai that Dahlia, would you like to say that word again? Jolly. Did I say that right? Tukjuri? Okay. Please explain what that means. A good fit. Find the right teacher with a good fit, resonates, and that is very good resources and very supportive as well. And for the last question, any particular question you want to ask? Yes. When is the next study day? And also, can we restart the Upasika group? But with the all-day format, not the half-day that we used to do. So, that's all.
Now, Kevin.
I didn't take any notes, so this will probably be quick. As far as the practice, there's a variety of techniques. Some people starting with mindfulness of the breathing at a particular point, like the nose, and going to different places. Seems like many people also felt it helpful to scan the body, kind of going up and down, using aids, mental noting, such as like Buddho was common amongst several people, and kind of helping to keep focus on the breath, and seemed to help to pay attention to the breath energy and kind of, in moving around to different parts of the body. As far as challenges, sticking with it, being able to stay with the breath consistently or the meditation object. After the meal, seemed there was sloth and torpor going on after the meal. That seems to be a theme, probably pretty human that after a meal, especially a big meal at the monastery, that's something that can be common. And going into things that are supportive, sometimes using walking meditation at times, like after the meal, can be supportive. Lampa, Pasano is noted as a very big support, and Kalyanamitta in general is very helpful and supportive. Resources and suttas, the Anapanasati Sutta, and the social media, like as far as Zoom and YouTube for the teaching, especially since the pandemic started. Ajahn Jeff's kind of short teachings on working with the breath is also mentioned as being helpful. And as far as particular questions, John had one. I don't know if that would be good for later or if you wanted to mention it. Or should we just go on to the next? At the next period, great. Okay, so, and that's about it.
I also didn't take notes, so practice of mindfulness of breathing. One person uses the 16 steps to help focus the mind. We'll go over it and then maybe refer back to whatever feels the strongest at that time. Another person labels the breathing in and breathing out to just stick with the breath that way. But the big challenge was kind of the chattering mind, and people had great ideas of how they were dealing with that. Scanning the body. The Anapanasati Sutta, and let's see. And what has been supportive of the practice? We talked for a while about Kalyanamitas, how important that is for supporting each other, and if not a person, there's a Dhamma talk or a reading a Dhamma book. So that was like a Kalyanamitta as well. That was, and again, resources, the internet, YouTube is quite rich with people to listen to. I know in one case, like I might listen to the news and then I need to balance this out so it's not just all bad news. And the suttas explain everything that's in the news anyway, so that's helpful. And particular suttas like the two arrows, And it's amazing how a sutta will just pop up at an opportune time. Oh, that reminds me of XYZ sutta. It's really nice. And we do have one question, and she'll ask it when that time comes.
Okay, now time for questions. And maybe if you can specify when you ask the question, if there's a particular teacher you would like to ask the question. And maybe we can start with Moria said somebody had a question. I'm not sure who you were saying about. Whoever can ask that question right now. Okay.
Thank you. So after the mind has settled and I'm with the breath, and for me the boundaries of the body disappear, or the breath starts to be barely perceptible. And I'm wondering when a feeling, not a bodily sensation, a feeling arises. So I work with anxiety, and sometimes I just let that feeling arise, and it's the breath which diffuses it. And I'm wondering, so then it feels as though it has become a sensation only behind the eyes and somewhat in the chest. So is it no longer, I can't tell that it's a feeling anymore. I just am left with a sensation, and as though the breath is kind of moving through that. And it's mostly I work with anxiety, but I've sometimes felt it even in the day, not in meditation, with, say, irritation, and then it goes through the body. Is it no longer a feeling or an emotion then?
Don't try to define things too tightly.
Good. I don't want to. Good. So it doesn't. So it doesn't matter. Is the essential thing?
It doesn't really matter.
Good.
I mean, there is a say from a say Buddhist scholastic basis, there is a difference in the sense of when we're talking about feeling. Because there's a problem with the English language, because feeling is then a constellation of different sensation and emotion, but that's not the case in the Pali, in the scriptural language. So when you say the word generally with feeling, a vedana is just the feeling tone that is experienced, and just in terms of pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, and it has a tone to it. And then as it starts to move, it has emotion around it. And then that is more of a mental formation. But in reality, one doesn't need to be doing. It's like Ajahn Chah said. You don't need to be dissecting all the different steps in the dependent origination. You just have to recognize that it's as if you're falling out of a tree. You don't have to count all the branches as you go down. You just have to know it's going to hurt when you hit the bottom. And so it's like, what do we do to develop the awareness and clarity and dissipating the anxiety or the whatever's clouding the mind, so that there is clarity and an understanding of the stepping back from the creation of dukkha.
So then I can just feel the feeling tone and ask, that's what I was asking at tea the other day, as opposed to kusala and akusala, is it unpleasant, pleasant, and neutral? and just to notice that.
It's just to notice that is fine.
And I don't actually have to label if it's weighting the mind down or foggy, or
Well,
that's
I mean,
not.
you take note of that, but it's much more taking note of it and returning to the known.
Breath. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
I guess this is for Longpa. So in the Anapanasati, there's many, many steps. And I guess if you're, in your meditation and greed, anger, delusions coming up, it may not be so easy to just drop it. And I was just wondering, is there space there for investigation to look at the causes and conditions for that greed, anger, and delusion? Is that within the steps somewhere?
That's definitely within the steps, and I mean it's to a certain degree it's it can be included in that element of the investigating, the experiencing the mental formations. I breathe in, calming the mental formations. I breathe out, because it's sort of what's the mind churning about. Being able to say to calm, to settle, or to make it clear what's happening. So that level of investigation, or the aspect of experiencing the mind. I breathe in, experiencing the mind. I breathe out. That is all part. Citta is actually a very broad term. It covers all of our mental experience. So both in terms of feeling and emotion, and mood and thought. So it covers the whole base. So one can be investigating that one, and of course then the calming and settling of the mind. How do I calm it? How do I settle it? How do I greed, hatred, and delusion are the hindrances, because part of Anapanasati is you're also working with the hindrances, and you can pull that in at any state, whether you're using the body as a primary focus of the bodily experience, or any other aspect. The lifting up of the investigating of the hindrances is a and overcoming of the hindrances is a way of both calming the body as well as calming the mental formations, as well as calming the mind. So it can be included in all of that. There's scope and avenue for all of it. Just it depends. There's it's just more like a bit more of a. You have different labels that you can be doing things under, and similarly with the last, paying attention to impermanence, paying attention to sort of the whole desire process and cessation of desire, the aspects of relinquishing and letting go. This contemplation is an ongoing. In order for mindfulness of breathing to be successful, one does need to learn how to be curious, investigate, contemplate, apply wise consideration in a skillful way, and then mindfulness of breathing. It's not just sort of slapping mindfulness of breathing on top of one's experience and then obliterating any obstacle. It's there needs to be some subtlety, and the use of investigation is very important. Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah, what came to mind too is like Longpa was saying, using the different steps, like step the step on contemplating impermanence, it doesn't just mean breathing in, thinking impermanence, 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 breathing out, thinking impermanence. You get creative with it, and you can breathe in thinking, this too shall pass, or breathing out, this too shall pass. And then that's actually falls under Anapanasati, but it's making it your own practice. Like if you have a lot of defilements coming up, it's like, this too shall pass, and then that's contemplating impermanence. It's not just exactly verbatim what each step is saying in the sutta.
Also, something that I think is important to emphasize in working with mindfulness of breathing is that it's not a linear practice. I mean, you don't have to start with step 1 and then work your way to step 16. You can as an exercise, but that's not, you have to work with whatever is actually helpful. So you can, usually you would start with the, short breath, long breath, just because that's the easiest. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to. You can start anywhere and go any which way. The main thing is that it's helpful. It helps to facilitate mindfulness. It helps to facilitate a sense of well-being and clarity. Phoebe.
Actually, Longpo, you just kind of answered my question. I wanted to ask about the steps, if you have to go into like one follow the other, but you just said it doesn't happen in a linear fashion, because some part is very clear. Like you got to be able to notice whether you're breathing long or short, that kind of very basic. But experiencing sukha and piti, you got to be able to calm your bodily sankharas, right? Mm-hmm. But then it's the other tetrads, the third and the fourth, that I'm not clear about. Yeah. Do you have to be able to calm the citta sankhara in order to experience the citta?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I mean, it's helpful. It's certainly helpful, but it's not essential. And because also, if you're lifting something up for contemplation, then you're starting to work with it as a possibility rather than this is the step that I'm going to make in concrete. And it's a part of an exploration of this whole realm of experience that mindfulness of breathing is the anchor for. So there's many different ways of approaching the Anapanasati Sutta as a tool or as a kind of a guideline for practice.
I guess I actually should flip it the other way from my experience rather than from the view of the sutta. So say I want to see the inner working of my mind. What is it that I'm doing to keep generating certain thought patterns? Mm-hmm. But does my mind need to be really, really calm in order to see that? But see, I asked you from looking at the different steps, but now I'm asking a question based on my own experience. Right. So does it need to be really calm in order to see that? Or is there any way I can start working with that and contemplate impermanence?
Well, the thing is you contemplate on what your experience is and then start using it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Because if you start investigating, yeah, and you get really interested, you'll start to get calm, and then you can work back again and work through. So that there's it's not, again, that's why it's so important to sort of say it's not a linear thing where you've got to get you've got to get your 4 stars on the long breath before you go to the bottle, the whole body sort of thing. It's the whole thing is I mean, it's a helpful tool to have a structure to follow. But yeah, you can start using the contemplation of impermanence or dispassion, and then come back and start looking at the mental formations and seeing how, or bringing into an experience of gladdening the mind. And
Okay.
it doesn't mean you're just randomly hopping around, but what it does mean is you've got a whole lot of options for exploring the development of this mindfulness of breathing. The main thing that the thread that goes through everything is the in-breath and the out-breath. Okay. Breathing in, knowing, breathing out, knowing.
Thank you.
There was a question about the sound of silence. Would somebody like to ask that now? Whoever that was.
I'm just wondering that the sound of silence, the part of the body too, because the breathing, Luang Por said this morning, is really connect to the mind, emotion. If I observe the sound of silence, it's okay or not? Because I just wonder that it's part of the body too or not.
Who are you asking?
Luang Por ค่ะ
Well, the thing is I haven't developed the sound of silence meditation. So I want to make that really clear. I haven't ever really used it as a primary object. I played with it, but my root is really mindfulness of breathing. The experience of silence is something that is, to me it's much more, it depends on how one experiences it. But to me it's much more concerned with the experience, the mind, say experiencing the mind. I breathe in, experiencing the mind, I breathe out. There's the sense of the mind being very still and silent. But the reality is yes, it is. There's a physical component, just in that it's almost a visceral, physical sensation of because it's there all the time, and it's experienced in the body, so it's something that is an object that one can attend to. But yeah, as I said, I haven't ever really seriously developed it.
And there's a question from Jeannie. When will I get wisdom? Luang Por, do you have anyone? Luang Por, have any comments on that? Or?
Where?
Jeannie was asking, when will I get wisdom?
Ginny.
Yeah.
Ginny, Ginny was asking.
Actually, I would like to expand that question. When we tam du tam ru observing, how can we not exhausted from observing? Because dealing with the monkey mind, to hop everywhere, and it's not easy to observe a lot of stop of the mind and stopping everywhere and jumping everywhere.
Yeah.
How can we not get too exhausted? Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good practical question. In terms of, when do we get wisdom? Then it's there's no timeline. It's sort of when just being patient and putting in all the right conditions, being patient, putting attention on the practice, giving oneself to the practice. But that sense of the tiring, I think one of the things that I return to, that I found really helpful, in terms of the way that the mind gets kind of tired and sort of frazzled from trying to be mindful, trying to be peaceful, is really returning to the body. Because the mind is always trying to figure things out, trying to make sense, trying to understand. And on a certain level, it's really beyond that level of mind anyway. So it's much more useful to just come back to the body and relax into the physical sensation of the rhythm of the breath, the physical sensation of how we hold the body, just relaxing, like as we're sitting, just really relaxing the area around the forehead, the face, the eyes, the jaw, really softening and calming and settling, relaxing in the shoulders and the chest, relaxing the abdomen, letting the breath really come down into the abdomen, so that there's a easeful, deep breath coming in and going out, relaxing into the posture of the lower back and the legs, and just really settling into the body, and then staying with that process of relaxing and settling. Tam du, tam ru. So it's like watching and knowing, staying with the quality of knowing. It's that quality of knowing that starts to gain a better picture or feel for the Dhamma, rather than all our attempts to figure it out on a rational, intellectual basis.
One more question, if anyone has one. Looks like there's no more questions.
Okay. Then, according to the schedule, I'm supposed to wrap it up. So, I think one of the best things to do is to wrap it up with. We'll finish with a sit. But I'll give a bit of guidance, and we'll wrap up with a sit, and then close with a dedication of sharing of blessings. Okay, so just as I was mentioning to Ginny, and Ajahn Kurundamo used the phrase, this is an embodied practice. really grounding experience and awareness in the body, because it's sometimes meditation and quote unquote spiritual practice can end up being really disembodied. This sort of ideas and concepts that are just floating around with nothing anchoring them, so that the experience of the body, grounding that awareness and attending to our experience of the in-breath and the out-breath, again, not as a concept or an idea, but as an experience. What does it really feel like? And this is something that, as I remember Ajahn Chah one time saying, the language of Dhamma is a language of feeling. And so I'd say both in terms of experience as well as its feeling tone, but that coming back to a felt sense of our experience, of breathing in, breathing out, but staying with the knowing, staying with awareness, breathing in, just really knowing, clearing, clear knowing, not forcing some kind of clarity as an idea, but just being clear in this present moment, being with the knowing. And we can be using a contemplation, but those contemplations are not just, again, they're not intellectual and rational analyses of things. It's just observing. Like the last section of the Anapanasati Sutta is just contemplating. But the word that the Buddha uses for contemplating is anupassana, anicca-anupassana. Vipassana is to see, so it's like seeing, and seeing, following on with that seeing. Anu is to following on as well. So there's a sense of following on with this seeing, following through a theme of, say, impermanence, uncertainty, change, contemplation, observing. What does it feel like? What's that experience like? How's it manifest? As just so being alert and present to the experience of impermanence. Being alert and present, contemplating in that sense of knowing and seeing the fading of passion. That you realize the more we follow desire, the more we follow passion, the more we follow our craving, the more tired and frustrated we feel. And so just allowing that that the cooling of passion, this dispassion, is not an act of squelching, but it's sort of like seeing clearly, observing how's that work, and you see it's not a successful strategy for well-being and happiness. And so that's through observing and seeing more clearly that we're able to allow that passion, that desire, that craving to become cool. And that's what, say, dispassion is, a cooling. The cessation, ending, recognizing, everything that has a beginning has an end. And when things end, there's some space opens up. And just pay attention to that space. It's like paying attention to that silence. So what does the ending of a thought feel like? To observe that closely, to experience it, and then allow that sense of space to open up, sense of silence, to stillness to be experienced. And yes, it could be just a tiny little flash, but it's those tiny experiences that we build on because they're true experiences. These are realities that we can live with and become more familiar and become more comfortable with. And that's why that contemplating, observing, watching and knowing, we start to get a sense of what's a fruitful direction, what's an actual fruitful strategy for freeing the heart from its entanglements. And then that sense of relinquishing, letting go, not holding on to, just releasing things that we've been hanging on to and clinging to, and investing our kind of attachment and clinging towards, just allowing that to dissipate. But it is dissipated in the quality of knowing, and that's your anchor, and you're using the breath as a means of letting that anchor, that foundation, become more and more solid, more and more clear. So we can maybe just sit quietly, delight in the fact that we've been practicing together, sharing time and space with each other, and I'll ring the bell in about, 10-15 minutes.